Hello, everyone, and welcome to Rory Money Talks Unplugged. Real talk on people, payroll, and cost-effective solutions that help businesses drive profits. I'm your host, Rory Money, with over 25 years of HR experience and 13 years as a business owner. Each episode, we dive into honest conversations that help leaders simplify HR, save money, and build stronger businesses without the fluff, just the facts. Let's get started. And joining me is our special guest, Peter Papa, partner and VP of Business Development at Magnet HR Group. Peter, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about you.
Rory, thank you very much. It's such an honor to be here. We've crossed paths about 9 times in the last 18 years, right? I mean, it was 18 years ago, I had just started a recruiting service for calling on hospitals. And I was looking for an HR director, and you and I met for coffee, and unfortunately they had found someone internally, so it didn't work out. But we just stayed in contact ever since, and here we are.
Yeah. So what are you doing now besides recently becoming a partner of Magnet HR? What have you kind of been doing, which led up to now?
I spent the last 20, it's hard to believe, it'll be 30 years in April in some business development role, as well as a full desk recruiter. My first 11 years was spent in working for various staffing agencies here locally in Dallas. Got into some management positions while there. And then I got a little taste of recruiting in the healthcare space. So in 2007, I started my own little business, and that's where we met. And so I was self-employed for about 10 years. Mm-hmm. That was a exciting time for me, and had some great moments and not so great moments. But
self-employment, right?
Exactly, ups and downs, right. And then about 10 years ago, I found the PEO world, HR outsourcing. I was a sales consultant for a very large big box PEO, and then I went back into being a recruiter on a retained basis. For a short time, I was actually, during COVID, I totally pivoted and started selling iced coffees.
Oh, wow. Tell us a little bit about that.
That was a lot of fun because I've always worked in the service industry. It's something that's, not tangible. This was the first time I was able to, and it was an incredible drink. Ready to drink iced coffee in a can, 3 flavors, non-GMO, grass-fed milk from, where was it from? I can't remember now, but it's pretty awesome. We had we had a pretty good run. We had about 300 stores throughout Texas. I was able to get into a buying group, a co-op, that introduced me to several C stores, but also worked with travel plazas, and I did some work with our semi-pro basketball team, Texas Legends up in Frisco. Oh, wow. Had a booth there, yeah. Okay. So that was during COVID, and it's funny. Everyone else was sheltered in. I was actually on the road in my van with a trunk full of coffees.
Out working the road.
Yeah, working the road. So that was kind of fun. But again, I've always been in some type of business development role, being out there hunting for new business, and mostly in Dallas and Fort Worth, but all over the U.S. Okay. Yeah.
So you talk about PEO. What does that mean?
Well, it stands for Professional Employer Organization. It's HR outsourcing, if you will. There's 4 different buckets. There's human resources, there's payroll, there's workers' comp, and there's insurance, health insurance, and ancillaries. Okay. So basically, it's a small business who's looking to scale and looking to offload some of those tasks, HR related, to help them navigate and help them stay compliant with all the state and federal agencies out there. I think there's several hundred. I know the Department of Labor alone has about 185 different employment laws on the books. So that can be pretty scary. And it's all designed to protect the employee, not the employer. So we help them, or the PEO helps them kind of protect them from all the legalities, to help them reduce liability risk. The other, I guess, benefit or game changer, if you will, when it comes to working with a PEO is the buying power. So a lot of companies, they want, obviously, you want insurance that you can afford, or if you're paying too much, you're a small business of, 60 employees, and say 35 or participate, where you're getting quoted on 35 employees, their genders and their ages. So with a PEO, you're getting Fortune 500 level benefits. So instead of being getting quoted for 35 employees, you're getting quoted for 80,000 or 100,000, depending on which PEO you go with. So you're able that the cost goes down, and they get to see more plan designs. So you're able to attract and retain employees. So you can compete with some of the bigger players out there when you're a small business. So
how does that really help small to mid-sized companies, say anywhere from 3 employees to 500 employees, if they have a sick group? Maybe they have, maybe it's a group that's 150 employees, and they've got 3 people that have had cancer in the last 3 years on their claims. How is that looked at when you go into a PEO?
Well, you have an insurance license. Maybe you can speak a little higher level, but
I do have an insurance license.
Right. She's quizzing me because this is actually an interview, not a conversation. There's always ways that we can look at it. They may not qualify. They have to take everything down to underwriting. And a lot of times, because there could be some individuals with some illness.
Is that a DNQ in the PEO world?
A lot of times it is, yeah. Okay. But they can still go out and shop it and look at other carriers, out there. So they're different. They get very creative. There's different plans. I mean, like you may have a company that's more blue-gray collar, and and we're talking about companies that are 50 or more, which they're required through ACA compliance to provide health insurance. There's different ways that they can obtain some type of insurance. One's called a MEC plan. So that's what PEOs come in and educate these a lot of these smaller businesses to uncover and to learn more about what their goals are and what they're looking to accomplish. So there's no two companies are alike. That's why it's important to have an opportunity to get in front of that prospect. We sometimes call it a discovery call, to find out, who are they, how long they've been in business, how many employees, tell me about your turnover. Just opening the questions to learn more about to try and get down in the weeds to figure out what the best, package for them.
Yeah. So thank you for that. And let's shift gears a little bit from, you're with Magnet HR Group, you're a partner now, and Magnet HR Group tell us a little bit with Magnet HR Group, being a small boutique, or more of a boutique payroll HR company that works with small to mid-sized businesses.
Well, there are all sorts of different size HR companies out there. They work with businesses, I guess the rule of thumb is 5 or more. The wheelhouse is, some people might disagree around 20 to 100 employees.
Mm-hmm. It's a sweet spot, right?
It's just that's the wheelhouse for sure. At Magnet, and you've been doing this for 12 years now, so you're not new to it. I envision it being a boutique where we're catering first to our local community, DFW, and some of the larger markets and smaller markets throughout Texas, and then expand from there. But I think it's more of when you get really large, you sometimes the customers treat it more like a number. They may get a call center rep when they have an issue, or they can't find their account manager. I know in my experience, some of the larger PEOs encourage the reps to sell the business and then just go find another one, go find the next deal, And there's always, I don't care what company we're talking about, there's going to be turnover. Yeah. So that's what I do, whether I'm selling PEOs or recruiting, staffing industry. I treat it like it's my company. So, if you're the sales rep, you're the face really of the company, right? And that's the way it should be throughout the life cycle of the customer. So they've always had my cell number, and I'm not an HR expert. I promote that service, and when they call me, I always refer them to the HR person, that being you, in this case. So that's where you come in.
That is, I've been in HR for a little over 25 years and started Magnet HR back in 2013. So I as well was working for those one of those big box PEOs and kind of learned the ways of the business. I learned a lot that clients weren't happy, right? With service, with payroll processing, not being able to get reports. I saw a client wait almost 2 years to get a report that they wanted that the company could not actually produce for them. So after seeing multiple clients leave is really what encouraged me to kind of break off on my own, and Magnet HR Group was born, and we're almost 13 years into it. So we're happy to have you as a partner. I think working, competing against these big box players, right? How does Magnet come in competitively against some of these big box players, right? When you're talking to small and mid-sized businesses, what are you finding out there when you're talking to business owners or HR managers? What do you find out?
Well, I'm about a week and a half into this one. Okay. I consider myself a hunter. I love finding new business, going after, not chase, I never want to chase anyone, but, finding out who the players are and be tactful about it to get a meeting, get on first base, and slowly begin to earn the trust of that prospect. The PEO, it could be a longer sales cycle than what I was used to working in the staffing industry, where staffing industry, it seems like more staffing companies will make a mistake and send the wrong person out. And if you make enough dials, enough cold calls, on foot, you'll get a real unhappy person that one day, and send me what you got. I want to work with you. So the cycle is only about from a day to 30 days, whereas this can be a little longer. A lot of companies that want insurance or have insurance, or definitely if they have it, there's a renewal period. So there's a waiting game. You have to learn to court them. Yeah.
And some of the benefits, if they're on the benefit plans of, say, a PEO, they could renew January 1, or they could renew April 1, June 1, 10/1. We've seen it kind of all throughout the year. So, we know all the PEOs and when the renewal is. There's some that do renew quarterly, but the majority have a date. Is either September 1, October, November, December, January 1. So the bulk of new for PEOs to win business, the majority of it happens at the very end, at the very beginning of the year. Yeah. What would you say that business owners or clients don't really know when they get into relationships with PEOs?
Well, the rep should really go over find out what their expectations are and the capabilities of the PEO. But a lot of times, I guess that's not explained entirely. So there could be some issues that arise along the way. I guess some reps may try to oversell and, you're going to have a real HR professional that's going to answer your calls and come see you when there's an issue, and sometimes doesn't always happen. So, I'm coming from a business development rep perspective. I try not to oversell anything. I want to over deliver. So, never want to promise anything that we can't fulfill or help them accomplish. So,
what are the pain points you hear when you're talking to clients or businesses trying to get their business, right? You stated courting them, right? And what do you really hear in pain points from our competitors as trying to, versus bring them over to Magnet HR Group?
Well, it could be anything from the big one is the payroll. It's not easy to use, or they made a mistake here, with something, and the technology piece. I just mentioned the responsiveness is not there, but those responsiveness or the technology's not what I expected it to be, those are the main ones.
I know when I was working for a large PEO, one of the things, it was a large healthcare client that we had, about 450 employees in the Fort Worth area. And I had discovered their benefits were not accurate, right? Like pretty much like the deductions, right? When you have got medical, dental, and vision, maybe you have short-term, long-term deductions, and they're not being reconciled. There's so many companies out, and here's the deal, right? In PEO, when they bill you, they're billing you for your admin fee. Could be billing you for workers' comp. They're billing you for your SUTA taxes, and they're billing you for benefit deductions, right? So you don't really see the breakdown. You're assuming on the PEO side that they're actually reconciling and they're doing their ads and terms timely. And when it comes to terminations, if you don't terminate an employee in a timely manner, they're going to end up on your next month's bill. Well, someone has to pay that bill because a lot of these carriers may not backdate it. So then you're being billed. And what we found when I was dealing with this big client, that the terminations weren't happening. So the PEO was billing the client for the benefits. So they just weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing, right? So it's so critical that you're with a company, payroll provider, that is going to reconcile your benefits for you. And that it added up to a lot of money that client lost. Yeah, definitely. So, and I think really the difference with Magnet HR being a boutique HR payroll firm is we do have the ability to, really care for our clients. While when you're in the big box facilities, you've got maybe a payroll specialist or a benefit specialist taking care of, a lot of clients at once, and they may not be caring for you as much as you would like. So unless you're that business owner over there or accountant that can really drill down and reconcile your numbers every month, you may be being overcharged, right? Just from erroneous items that shouldn't be there.
Yeah, for sure. Or just understanding your invoice, Some of these companies will charge a percentage of payroll, and there's some also other fees in there that weren't disclosed, and they're going, what is all this?
Percentage of payroll. Talk about that. So that's an admin fee, and they're charging based off of a percentage of payroll. So if someone's payroll biweekly, maybe they have 45 employees and they're biweekly, so 26 pay periods a year, right? and their payroll's running somewhere around, I don't know, let's say 40,000 biweekly. That come out right? That wouldn't come out right. But they're paying an admin fee on the salaries, right?
Correct.
Wow.
So some of the higher paid salaries, that figure is going to obviously look bigger.
So if
It's
someone's
based on
getting
percentage.
a lot of bonus quarterly or year end, that client is paying based on salary.
Correct. Total comp.
Ooh,
Whereas others
that could be pricey.
can be. And it fluctuates,
Wow.
like your electricity bill.
And Magnet HR kind of does a flat per check fee. So you know what you're getting. And you can tell what your numbers are. You can calculate it into your budget. So you really know what that's going to look like based off of the number of employees and the checks that you're producing every month, every year. So you really know what your costs are going to be.
And you can forecast.
Wow, that's amazing that companies can charge on a percentage. I can't even fathom how much that could be, right? I mean, I know recently you've looked at a potential client that was being charged based off a percentage. And I want to say, did they have about 20 or 25 employees?
I believe the one that you and I are prospecting, yeah, that's correct.
Wow.
I'm not sure how many PEOs do it. The one I left, it was a flat rate, not a percentage. But there are some out there that do charge a percentage. It can be very confusing for the client, for sure.
So to calculate that, right, if we're looking at a client that say has 20, 25 employees, they're paying a salary or a percentage based on salary, and say they're paying about $5,000 a month to have payroll, maybe a little bit of HR support, maybe they're having their benefits reconciled, administered, right, every month, maybe the 401k too. And they're paying about $5,000 a month. So what would that be? About 60 something thousand a year, right?
Yeah.
So you could hire a HR generalist for that. But why are you paying an outside company 60 something $1,000 when you only have 20 employees? Help me understand that, Peter.
Well, if you can get away with something, I mean, and no one's complaining,
And then their pain points were service, right?
Yes, I love those types of prospects. It makes my job a lot easier. But yeah, I mean, we're very transparent. We can quote you over the phone, give you a rough estimate. Again, it's a flat rate per paycheck. We break it down per paycheck, monthly, quarterly, annually. You know exactly what you're looking at as far as your admin fee goes. Well, there are a lot of good sales reps out there. And it also, timing too. When something's hitting, I don't want to use the word, but when all hell breaks loose and companies are in panic mode, they sometimes don't make rash decisions,
Mm-hmm. In panic mode,
Yeah,
will
panic
definitely
mode, right.
they need a payroll company quick, or they know they need an HR person.
Right. Let's get it done. Move on. Remember, these companies, if you're a small business, you got to generate revenue. That means sales. So a lot of times, the owner is wearing all the hats and also selling and servicing the accounts. Especially if you're a lot of blue gray collar business, as you know, like HVAC,
Plumbing,
restoration type businesses.
Yeah.
I mean, you see them all the time on the road. And that's why the owners are harder to get a hold of, because he's out there, or she's out there doing the work alongside with his employees.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. So that's another reason why they didn't get into business to run HR, and all of a sudden as they scale, they got all these new issues or various tasks that they're having to address, right? And it slows them down. It's called opportunity costs. They're busy in that trying to deal with all that the HR stuff, all the gritty and busy work that has to get done as you're growing. You can't ignore it, and it takes them away from their core business and finding new clients. And if you don't find new clients, because some through different reasons clients do go away, you lose it to the competition, or they take it in house. They don't need your service or what have you. You've got to be filling your pipeline and out there grinding and getting business every single week. Seize the day, that's what it's all about.
Let's talk about a little bit about HR, having that HR service for, small to mid-sized companies. When I say those numbers, again, anywhere from 3 to maybe 100, 125 employees, when you really can't go out and hire a $80,000 a year HR manager to be on site. So the other options would be outsourcing and working with a company that can kind of learn your employees, learn your business, be there for phone calls, emails, help support. When you talk to these businesses, what do you find that they have? Do they have in-house HR? Are they looking to outsource it? And what is kind of the best course of action for a company like that to take? Because you think about, right? You have an HR manager, you're paying them 80 to 90,000 a year. You only have maybe 80 to 100 employees, and you're paying these big dollars for an HR person that now, boom, they're sick. They're out for, maybe they had a knee replacement and they're out for, their FMLA 12 weeks. And who's running the show? Does the business owner step in? Does the controller or CFO step in?
A lot of times these smaller businesses, the office manager or the owner's wife is running HR, handling payroll. Sometimes if there's not an HR person, the controller a lot of times is also the HR person contact. So so they're wearing different hats and trying to do a little bit of everything, and that's just part of being a small business and growing pains. So you can either go out and find you a generalist or a manager of HR, and I don't know what the going rate is. I guess it depends on the industry. 75 to 100,000. I mean, and of course, if you talk about healthcare and or technology, it's much higher. But or spend a fraction of that with an HR outsourcing company like Magnet, whether it's ASO or PEO.
And you don't just get one person; you get a team of people.
Correct. Yep. So it really makes complete sense. Even those that don't have health insurance. That's the other thing about working with a smaller boutique HR company. At some point, they're going to want to offer many times, not always, a major medical policy. So with us, we have the resources and the bandwidth and your relationship.
Shoe Benefit Group? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You've been in business for 30 plus years. And they take good care of the prospect.
Definitely.
Shops and patient and anything bad to say about the broker. We're going to lay out all these different plan designs and explain it in detail and recommend a plan that best fits that individual company. Right.
And I think the difference really when it comes to benefits, right? If the PEOs put you on a master plan, their choices are what they have. That may be United Healthcare, that may be Aetna, or that may be, I think it's either Humana or Cigna that will do master plans for PEOs. When you outsource it or carve out those benefits, you have choices that you can shop all carriers, right? And so sometimes different carriers will have, their bundled rates where you get medical, dental, and vision for a better rate than you would if you did a standalone, medical over here and Dearborn Life over here. And so I think when we go and we look at it for our, prospective clients, that we're really diving in deep to look at what's going to best suit them for their budget, for their employees, what plans can we offer, and you really have the opportunity to have a lot more choices as you would, if you were under a PEO. You're captive. You've got one choice. United Healthcare or whatever master plan they go with, right? So it is definitely, I think, an opportunity for, small to mid-sized business owners, controllers, CFOs to look at what relationships they're in when they're, choosing a payroll provider or outsourced HR company.
100%.
Okay. So that client experience and relationship building, how important is that in your role as the VP of Business Development?
Well, it can be a real challenge gaining getting more business wins and building that book. So the last thing you want to do is let that fall to the wayside and not be there when your client needs you. So keeping that relationship strong with your client and having that open line of communication. What I said earlier about we want customers for life. I don't want to go out there and have to make 80 outbounds a day and grind until I'm 65.
Well, you are getting on up there, Peter.
Well, I'm getting on up there. I mean, before I start collecting Social Security, I want to be able to work, but not like crazy, prospecting. And I love to I don't mind prospecting. I like it. But if you can take care of those customers, and as we grow and add more clients, we'll have to capture more, the bandwidth will have to also grow along with the number of new clients, and that's we can easily scale. But and knowing how to manage that, to not get overwhelmed, and having with your resources, able to add on as needed additional support. But for now, and the way it's been in your business for the last 10 plus years, you are the face of the business, and they personally know you. And I've heard you on calls. I mean, you really go above and beyond, and to make sure those clients are taken care of, and I'm checking up on them too. Just because you don't hear from somebody doesn't mean there's not something going on. That you don't see. They just don't want to. Maybe they think it's not important enough or not ready to go. And then it gets so large, it escalates and gets so big that it's almost too late to save it. Right? It's time to call your attorney. We can't help. So try to address it early on to find a solution before that problem becomes too big to solve. And that costs money and that costs time. And we're trying to save them money and time. So we got to be plugged in and engaged every single day.
Definitely. And I think one of the things, that really makes Magnet HR Group different is, we can be as hands-on as the client wants us to be or as hands-off as they want us to be, right? So we have clients that go into our HRIS system and do their own payroll. And maybe they run into an issue and they contact support. I promise you support gets back to them right away. That is what sets us apart. But then you've got those clients that, don't want to. They don't have time. They're on the road. We process their payroll for them. And we will send them the report to review. They want to make any changes. Our team makes those changes and we'll send them back a final copy. We get that approval and it's final submission and we handle everything. Welcome to Rory Money Talks Unplugged. the podcast where we pull back the curtain on HR, payroll, and employee benefits, multi-state tax, and the real issues business owners face behind the scenes. If you're running a company with up to 250 employees and you're frustrated with the vendors you rely on, you're in the right place. I'm Rory Money, the HR tax girl, not a salesperson, not a pitch machine, but an HR professional who spent some time inside a big box payroll company watching business owners struggle with terrible customer service, broken systems, slow responses, and pricing that made no sense. So I walked away and built something better, a service that actually cares. Each week, we're talking about the business owner's real experience, the confusion, the messy invoices, the hidden fees, the multi-state tax headaches, the business renewals that feel like a mystery, and the payroll platforms that make your life harder instead of easier. I'll help you make sense of the muddy mess you're stuck in, break down what's costing you money, and show you what it looks like to finally have clarity, control, and support from a team that truly has your back at Magnet HR Group. From people to processes to profit, we'll talk all things business and all things HR without the fluff, without the pressure, and without the sales pitch. So grab your coffee, hit subscribe, and let's start clearing the path so you can run your business with confidence and the support you deserve. So I think it's really being in tune with the client and knowing their employees. We have employees call us, hey, I was trying to log into the system. I need to change my direct deposit, but I really wasn't sure what box to check. Oh, we'll help you, right? And that's the service you want to provide to clients, to their employees. Because if you have happy clients, you have happy clients, or happy employees, happy clients, right? So it's so important, I think, from an HR and business perspective as a business owner to really provide that excellent service. And, are we perfect by any means? No, right? There'll be errors sometimes, but what I promise you is it'll get fixed right away. And our team, something else we do a little bit different with our team is we make sure all of our support team and payroll are degreed accountants. So I have found that through the years, you hire a payroll specialist or an HR specialist, and when you're dealing with payroll, you need to know numbers, especially when you're, doing benefits reconciliation. I would say benefits is probably one of the most difficult things to do because of the timeliness of when the bills go out versus when an ad happens or a termination happens. So it's important for somebody in that role to have an accounting and numbers background. So it has worked well for the last couple years and several years, and we will move forward with that. And our clients know who they can contact when they have questions.
That's awesome. And I'm so excited to be here with you. This is my first podcast and hopefully not my last.
Well, I hope not either. So Peter, to kind of wrap this up, one of the things I wanted to talk about. So we were talking about numbers a little bit, right? And I'm gonna pull up my calculator.
You're a numbers
here.
girl?
Yeah. So let's just say you're looking at a group that may have we'll say 65 employees, right? And they're biweekly. And right now they're maybe with one of the big box players. They're not getting the service they need, or, something's been wrong lately. They typically are looking to make a move, or they're looking to save money. That's really the pain points that we see, I think, in this industry. You got 65 employees biweekly, and they are on a flat per check fee, admin fee. So I don't know, throw out a number. What's a good number?
You talking about the average PEO?
Comparably, if we're competing against.
$60 to $100 a head per month. So
Per month. Okay. So let's say just $32 a head per check. So, biweekly.
and that's competitive. I mean, there's others that will charge a lot more than that, and some of them will charge a little less, but that's the number that
So that's going to be roughly around, say, like $4,200 a month. And the difference with us is we're going to definitely evaluate what you're paying, right? So when we're assessing a prospective client, we're going through their invoice and looking to say, what are you currently paying for, where we can come in and compare apples to apples. The other thing is suitor rates. So sometimes PEOs, because you're in that co-employment relationship, those employees are really their employees. So you're in that co-employment relationship. They may not be capping your suitor rates. So a company could be continuously paying suitor rates and they're building up, their bucket on the PEO side. When then you leave your PEO, they're not giving you that money back because the EIN that those employees are working under is that PEO. So a lot of times, again, businesses don't get that. And that's where Magnet comes in and will help really, pull those pieces apart and identify, where we can make improvements for that client. So kind of a fun closer. What is one piece of advice that you would give a company that's shopping for HR and payroll services today?
I would say I would look at a few. I would take a look at a few and do some apples to apples comparisons because they're all a little bit different. And I would hopefully be that one company or one person in the room and have an opportunity to earn the business of that prospect. A lot of times, the PEO industry itself hasn't been around for that long. I think 1980s. And at one time, I think there was 900 PEOs. It's down to, I just saw this on LinkedIn, about just under 500. All the acquisitions going on.
And why? Right, because of the acquisitions, right? The big box players are buying some of the smaller payroll providers.
And all that private equity and where was I going with this? About look at several before making a decision, and if you are as a boutique local company, I'm focusing on local business or business in Texas at least. Okay. And then going back to my point, I couldn't remember is that there have been a lot of companies, just like in the staffing industry, that's given the industry a bad name, and companies, you walk in and they assume, I know what no, we've tried that, didn't work out, terrible, never do it again, and that's the objection I hear a lot too.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions for you. The craziest objections that you've ever heard from business owners.
Put me on the spot now. Can you think of one?
Well, I mean, I think we, talking, what I think the greatest thing is when we're calling on these small to mid-sized businesses and the gatekeeper, which is typically the receptionist, right, answering the phones, they say, no, we're not interested. Well, that's interesting because does your owner or CFO or controller know you're not interested? Because we could have just saved you $300,000 on a 250-man group, and you're telling people you're not interested. So I would assume that the owner or CFO controller would want to know how Magnet HR can save $300,000.
Well, that's why it's
on a group that size,
right? No, I've heard of that very often. The receptionist who answers the phone answers for the owner. It's like, unless that's your wife, it's one thing,
Right.
But if you're the receptionist, so that's just a screening out tactic, and so if you can find the cell number of the
owner.
work at the top, always work top down, not bottom up.
Right.
Then you have a much better chance of getting in front of the decision maker. That's the other thing too. In business development, you do not want to assume that the person that's across that desk is the decision maker. You want to ask early on to clarify: are you the decision maker, or is there some other person or persons that need to be in this room when we have this conversation, especially when it comes to proposing numbers? That's very important. That's like sales 101.
Yeah.
But I still see people, they're so excited to get that information out and have that meeting. But there's always that mystery person. Sometimes I had one deal, this is many years ago, and it was the owner's wife, and she asked if there was a certain drug that was going to be eligible, a cholesterol drug.
Yeah.
Does our plan, does it cover that generic drug? And we said, we looked through there and go, oh yeah, there it is. Okay, go with it. That was the ultimate, decision right there.
Okay.
The wife.
Well, that makes sense.
That's a good. Yeah, that happened to me once. I'm like, okay, well, Jesus, let's do it. Got us a deal. It's covered. We got that generic drug. And
well, that salesperson was a good salesperson. Was that you?
Yeah, it was me.
That was you. Okay. Well, I think, looking at salespeople, right, in this industry, and I know just being around, right, you and working for one of the largest PEOs in the country, I saw salespeople come in the door and go out the back door, because if you don't meet your quota, they're clearly not going to keep you because you're not bringing them revenue, right? So how would you say, these salespeople going in, selling these deals, and these clients really just, maybe they build a relationship with that salesperson, and then the salesperson signs them, they're gone, they got their commission on it. And when there's an issue that goes down and you don't really know, who to contact because your salesperson's gone because they've been fired because they couldn't meet quota. Now what?
Well, I think if I was the company, I would notify that client that John Smith we've parted ways, but I want you to meet your account manager. Do that the very next week.
Okay.
Because, a lot of times the owner, the person that made that decision on what PEO they were going to go with, made that decision, that purchase from the person that sold them the deal, the sales rep, because he liked that person. Because a lot of times you have, it's almost like a commodity. You have 2 or 3 in there in the room, and they're all about the same, right? One might have Aetna, one might have United Healthcare, or another one, and they're all about the same, basically.
Who do you like?
Who do you
wanna
like?
do
Who do you
business with?
want to do business with, right?
Yeah.
That's why I think the smaller, where you're going in as the HR professional expert, and you're almost
Definitely not a salesperson.
You're not a
That is
salesperson,
not
but
me.
you're actually I know you're not. You say you're not an extrovert, but you are. You've got personality. So it's powerful. It speaks volume when the HR rep who owns the company is in there with the sales rep. So
I'd have to say, though, I probably stepped away from my company for several years, and I would get a lot of times, CFOs that go out to hospitals or healthcare companies that'd call me out to come and work. So I stepped away from my company for a couple years, but no one's ever gonna baby, your company the way you do, and so I've been back in it for the last, 2 years, I guess. And I know that our foundation is solid. What we offer, our technology is solid, and really having that support team. I am so proud of the team I have trained. They can't get much better training than me training them. So the fact that they can replicate what I teach them is excellent. And I think, any client that does business with Magnet HR Group is definitely in good hands for sure.
Absolutely. 100%. That's
So
a great way to end it for sure.
So one of the things which is really interesting, I was looking at this prior to our
At my resume?
No,
I can explain that.
but so did you know, these are fun facts here, that the CEO, and I won't name the company, of one of the big box players, approximate compensation is $19.14 million for 2025. I guess fiscal year, maybe their fiscal year. So that's going to be made up of, their base salary, stock awards, and other compensation. 19 million. So the other big box, 18.8 million for the CEO. That's incredible. And all those small to mid-sized businesses out there partnering with them, paying their hard-earned money to these companies and not getting the service that they really want. That's astounding.
You nailed it right on the head. Yeah, I mean, when you have to have that much overhead, that many salaries you have to pay, you're going to have to, that cost has to be sent to the client, as the pass-through cost, and that's why you're seeing those exorbitant fees or the admin fees, because they have to cover the cost of all the real estate that they're leasing and all the salaries that they have to meet. So
it's incredible. This has been wonderful. Peter, thank you so much
for
being our first guest on Rory Money Talks Unplugged. Thank you. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Rory Money Talks Unplugged. Real talk on people, payroll, and cost-effective solutions that help businesses drive profits. If you enjoyed this podcast, hit like and share it with anyone in HR, payroll, benefits, or business ownership, or even your dog if you think they'll find it helpful.